Right now, you are moving at over 1,000 miles per hour. You don't feel it. You're sitting in a chair or walking down a street or lying in bed, convinced of your own stillness. But you are a passenger on a massive spinning sphere of iron and rock, hurtling through a vacuum. We take this rotation for granted. It is the metronome of our existence. It defines our days, our nights, our weather, and our very weight. But what happens if the music stops? Imagine a moment of total crystalline silence. Not the silence of a quiet room, but the silence of physics breaking its promise. If the Earth were to suddenly stop spinning, right now, in the middle of this sentence, the world as you know it wouldn't just change, it would vanish in a heartbeat. This isn't just a story about a natural disaster. Oh, it is a story about the fragile illusions we call home, gravity, and time. We are held together by a momentum we never earned and cannot control. What happens when the momentum runs out? What happens to the human mind when the literal ground beneath its feet forgets how to move? To understand the end of the world, you have to understand the law of inertia. It is the most stubborn rule in the universe. Objects in motion stay in motion. At the equator, the Earth's surface and everything on it is travelling at roughly 1,670 kilometers per hour. If the planet stops, you do not. The moment the crust halts, the atmosphere keeps going. Imagine a wind gusting at 1,000 miles per hour. This isn't a hurricane, it's a supersonic wall of air. It would instantly scour the surface of the planet clean. Skyscrapers wouldn't just fall, and they would be shredded into dust and carried away. The oceans would be heaved out of their basins by sheer kinetic energy, sending walls of water miles high sweeping across continents. In a fraction of a second, the entire infrastructure of human civilization, every bridge, every monument, every memory etched in stone, would be wiped into the stratosphere. If you were inside a building, you wouldn't even have time to scream. You would be launched sideways at the speed of a jet fighter. But let's say, through some cosmic miracle, you survived the initial jolt. Perhaps you are standing at the North or South Pole, where the rotational velocity is near zero. You would watch as the world around you dissolved into a chaotic blur of debris and fire. The physical shape of our world is a lie maintained by motion. The Earth is not a perfect sphere. It is an oblate spheroid. It's fat at the middle. Centrifugal force pushes the oceans toward the equator, creating a massive bulge of water. The moment the spin stops, gravity becomes the sole master. That massive bulge of water would begin to migrate. The oceans would abandon the equator and surge toward the poles where gravity is strongest. A new, gargantuan continent would emerge around the centre of the Earth, a dry, high-altitude belt of former seafloor, while two massive, disconnected oceans would drown the northern and southern hemispheres. Maps would become meaningless. The United Kingdom, most of Europe and Canada would disappear under kilometres of water. What's left would be a wasteland of salt and shipwrecks. Then, there is the matter of the magnetic field. Our planet's shield against the sun is generated by the geodynamo, the swirling liquid iron outer core. This movement is driven by the planet's rotation. Without the spin, the dynamo fades. The magnetosphere, our invisible armour against lethal solar radiation, would wither away. The sun, once our source of life, would become our executioner, bathing the remaining atmosphere in high-energy particles until the very air we breathe is stripped away into the void. Getty images. Geologically, the Earth would become a tomb. The days would no longer last 24 hours. A day would now last an entire year. You would have 6 months of relentless scorching daylight, followed by 6 months of a frozen pitch-black night. The temperature swings would be apocalyptic. During the day, the sun would bake the surface to temperatures that boil lead. During the night, the atmosphere, what's left of it, would collapse in the cold, reaching temperatures that turn carbon dioxide into dry ice. This is the scientific reality of the Great Halt. It is a world of stagnant air, migrating oceans, and a sun that refuses to set until it has burned everything you love. It is a physical breakdown of the systems that allow biological life to exist. But the physical destruction is only the beginning. The real horror lies in the silence that follows. We are children of the rhythm. Every cell in your body, every neuron in your brain, is tuned to the 24-hour cycle of light and dark. This is our circadian rhythm, a biological clock hardwired into our DNA by 4 billion years of evolution. We don't just live on a spinning planet, we're a product of its spin. Our psychology is built on the foundation of tomorrow. We survive because we can predict the sunrise. When the Earth stops, the fundamental architecture of human consciousness collapses. Think about the concept of the present. Psychologically, humans are rarely present. We are creatures of the extended now. We live in a state of constant anticipation, our brains constantly simulating the next few seconds, hours, and days. We are biologically designed to navigate a world that is always in motion. When that motion stops, the future ceases to be a reliable destination. In a world with a 6-month-long day, the concept of time loses its grip on the human mind. In neuroscience, there is a phenomenon called temporal disintegration. It often happens to people in high stress, as isolated environments, like prisoners in solitary confinement or explorers lost in caves. Without the external cues of a rising and setting sun, the brain's internal clock begins to drift. Minutes feel like hours, days feel like seconds. If you were a survivor on this stationary Earth, your mind would begin to eat itself. The dread of the eternal noon would set in. Imagine the sun hanging motionless in the sky, a searing, unblinking eye that never closes. In our current world, the night is a mercy. It is a period of cooling, of dreaming, of processing. Without the night, the human psyche is denied its primary mechanism for healing. Sleep deprivation would become a planetary condition. Collective psychosis would follow. We often talk about existential dread as an abstract feeling of insignificance. But in the Great Halt, that insignificance becomes a physical weight. On a spinning Earth, we feel like the protagonists of a grand story. We are going somewhere. On a static Earth, we are merely mould on a cooling rock. This brings us to a terrifying philosophical realization. Our sense of self is entirely dependent on the stability of our environment. We believe we are independent entities, but we are actually relational beings. We define ourselves by our relationship to the ground, the sky, and the passage of time. If you remove the rotation of the Earth, you remove the context of being. The philosopher Blaise Pascal once wrote, "The eternal silence of these infinite spaces frightens me. But what is more frightening? The silence of the vacuum, or the silence of a world that was supposed to keep moving? Biologically, we are optimism machines. Our brains are evolved to filter out the terrifying reality of our precarious position in the cosmos so that we can focus on finding food and mates. We ignore the fact that we're standing on a molten ball of lava covered by a thin crust spinning through a radioactive graveyard. This adaptive ignorance is what keeps us sane. But if the Earth stops, the filter breaks. The cosmic horror is no longer a subgenre of literature, it is the atmosphere. You would look up at the sun and realize it isn't a light in the sky. It is a massive thermonuclear furnace that is slowly stripping away your protection. You would look at the stars and see not beauty, but a cold, indifferent infinity that doesn't care if your species lives or dies. We find comfort in the natural order. We believe the universe has a script. The Great Halt proves there is no script, only physics. And physics is not a moral code. Gravity doesn't care about your memories. Inertia doesn't care about your potential. If the Earth stops, it isn't punishment. It is simply a change in the state of a system. This is the ultimate existential twist. Humanity is a momentum species. Our culture, our technology, our religions, they are all ways of managing the fact that we are moving. We build cathedrals to withstand the wind. We create calendars to track the sun. We are a frantic, buzzing hive of activity attempting to match the speed of our planet. If the planet halts, the why of our existence evaporates. In the silence of a stationary world, the only thing left would be the alienation of the observer. You would be a creature designed for a world that no longer exists. You would be a biological anachronism. Every instinct you have, to wake up with the light, to fear the dark, to plan for the winter, would be a lie. You would be a ghost haunting a planet that has forgotten how to be a home. We live on the edge of a knife, balanced by the grace of angular momentum. We spend our lives worrying about the trivial, our bank accounts, our social status, our minor inconveniences, while ignoring the fact that our entire reality is sustained by a spin we didn't start and can't stop. The Great Halt reminds us that normalcy is a miraculous temporary state of affairs. We are not the masters of this world. We are its lucky passengers. Our consciousness, our love, our philosophy. It all exists in the narrow margins of planetary physics. If the world stopped turning tomorrow, what would be the last thing you thought of? Would it be the things you achieved, or the simple, rhythmic beauty of a sunset you'll never see again? We are defined by our motion. Without it, are we even human? What part of this stationary Earth terrifies you the most? Is it the supersonic winds, the migrating oceans, or the psychological horror of a sun that never sets? Let me know in the comments. Your perspective is the only thing that gives this spinning rock meaning. Subscribe to stay grounded in the deep end of the pool. I am 10 Minute Cosmos. Follow for more.